Are you ready for today's workplace? It's faster, more competitive. On the job, employers use dozens of applications you've never heard of and have higher expectations than ever before. But that's business. As a blind job seeker, you won't get that many opportunities. So when the opportunity does strike, the job, the work, the real opportunity of employment, you better be ready. And you can do it if you put in the work to stay ready. The Workplace Readiness Accelerator program is designed to do this across 8 weeks. It's 25 hours per week, but on the other side, you will know. You'll know you've built the skills. You understand what employers expect, and you'll know how to accomplish it when you get there. You're blind, which means we've got to be twice as great to be considered half as good. So stay ready, be ready with the Workplace Readiness Accelerator program. To learn more, click on vocational rehabilitation at accessabilityofficer.com. Access Ability Officer. Ability is our middle name.
Hey there, and thanks for checking out episode 156 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. My name is Greg Lindberg. Here on this episode, we are visiting with two members of the U.S. national blind soccer team. And so we have talked about blind soccer a few times on this podcast, but these are two new individuals we have not had on yet. And so they actually recently competed in a few tournaments, both of which were international. And I think you'll really enjoy hearing about their experiences in those tournaments, as well as just their experience playing blind soccer in general. So why don't we go ahead and hit the pitch and get kicking toward episode 156 of the Eyes Free Sports podcast. Okay, so here on this episode of the podcast, we have two members of the U.S. national blind soccer team. So we have talked about blind soccer on this podcast some. We've had Ricky Castaneda, we've had Charles Catherine, head coach Ryan Lazaro. So super excited to welcome these two individuals we have not chatted with before. So first, I would like to welcome Alvaro Mora Arellano. Alvaro, welcome to Eyes Free Sports.
Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the opportunity that you are giving us to participate in your podcast and to be able to talk about blind soccer.
Absolutely. Appreciate you joining. And then we also have his teammate here, Ethan Kunes. Ethan, welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. I'm excited for this, following the footsteps of all my, other teammates and Coach Laz. Yeah, so this is going to be fun. Excited to, of course, have my Mr. Hat-Trick Alvaro with us here today. So
got to mention that right off the bat, right? It's a great nickname. Right? Cool. So why don't we just kind of start with your backgrounds? If you guys just want to introduce yourselves, just talk a little bit about kind of your lives, your visual impairment, perhaps education, career, anything you'd like to share. And Alvaro, we can start with you.
Okay, so I was born in 1987, so originally from Mexico. I grew up there. So I lost my vision when I was 3 years old, and as a result of cancer, retinoblastoma. Soccer has been my passion since I was little, so in Mexico it's like a religion. So I started playing with my family, with my cousins, friends. And I think for me, soccer is also part of my rehabilitation as a blind person, because I think I remember that I didn't have any fears, following the ball, chasing the ball around. So that really helped me with my orientation and all that stuff. So when I was 15 years old, I moved to the United States. I started as a sophomore in high school, and I completed high school. I also graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in Spanish, and currently I'm working in a call center providing on the bilingual line. So that is basically brief summary about my life.
Nice. Very cool. Appreciate that. And Ethan, how about your journey?
Yeah, well, soccer or, football, as, we're kind of told to call it sometimes, has always been, my number one thing, the sport I played all my life. And I started off playing sighted soccer, and I played in high school, second place in the state championship. We don't talk about that, but I was planning on, going to college and stuff for that. I lost my sight when I was 18 years old, and I found out about blind soccer shortly after that. And just like Alvaro was saying, it's become like such a rehabilitating thing in my life. It's, built back confidence and showed me all the things I can do, because, you go through phases, as I'm sure a lot of, blind people listening to this can relate to, where, there's an acceptance of it, but, that takes time sometimes. And you need to, have examples of what can I still do? How can I feel productive? How can I, still obtain some of my goals? And, finding out about the blind soccer team, that was something right off the bat that really, gave me some of the focus on shoot for my goals again. So, always grew up playing soccer, and I actually am currently going to the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs, studying social work there. I'm a freshman, and the main kind of reason for going out there was, headquarters of USABA, talks of maybe building a pitch down there, all sorts of tournaments. We've hosted some tournaments I'm sure you've heard about down there and stuff. So that was one of the main reasons going out to school there. Keep soccer's one of my main priorities. Keep that dream moving as quick as possible. So currently in college with looking into career paths and stuff. But at the end of the day, as it's always been for a good chunk of my life, soccer is definitely up there on the list.
Nice. That's awesome. And I'm curious. I know you mentioned social work. Could you see yourself like maybe working in a role that helps like the blind community or people with disabilities?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because my main passion in the social work field is sports psychology. And, as psychology, the name, so it sounds a little different and stuff, but you can actually head into that career through that. I was thinking, it'd be awesome. Maybe I could support blind athletes, being one myself, having experience in the sighted world in sports, now the blind world. I really feel, as most people should value, mental health is just as important to the game as physical health and all the external stuff. I really think it would be awesome to check up with blind athletes, really try to improve their mental strength as much as possible and help them, relay that on the court, on the pitch, wherever it is.
That's awesome. Definitely awesome goals right there. Salvaro, back to you. So I'm really curious as far as blind soccer, as a kid in Mexico, was there blind soccer? Were you aware of this adaptive sport just growing up in Mexico?
Basically, I attended to a school for the blind. So right there, we made our own adaptation of blind soccer. So I remember that we used to wrap a soccer ball with a plastic bag. So one of those that you get in the supermarkets that make a lot of noise. And way we were able to identify where the ball was moving. But no, I didn't know anything about blind soccer like the blind soccer that I'm playing now. So the first time that I listened to a tournament was the World Cup in 2018 in Spain. So that was the first time that I was able to follow blind soccer. So games with all the rules and know more about it. So and later on in 2019 is when I was like before blind soccer I used to play goalball, so the other blind sport. So and for that reason I was like registered with USABA to receive the notifications, the newsletters. And right there, I saw that they were trying to identify new talent for blind soccer. So in order to start a team for the Paralympic Games in 2028, so and is when I start like applying and I start attending to different camps and then officially be part of the national team in 2022.
Interesting. Yeah. And when you were named to the national team, what did that mean to you? How did that feel?
For me, it's an honor, and also it's like very important because, like I mentioned before, I'm originally from Mexico. I grew up back there. So I never imagined that I will be representing another country, But when I moved to the US, like US became home, and so I have achieved so many things here that I'm so proud of having the opportunity to represent the country.
Nice. That's awesome. And then Ethan, over to you. So I'm really curious as well how you discovered blind soccer. I assume it was some kind of communication from USABA or interaction.
It was somewhat like that. So it was about 2 months after losing my sight, and I'm totally blind, by the way. So no light perception or anything like that. I found out about it 2 months after in the month of December when the online tryouts were due, like the kind of like combine videos you could submit and see if the coach is finding interest in you and stuff like that. It was actually the 29th of that month and they were, due on New Year's night. So I had to kind of rush on it. And it originally started when a O&M instructor in Maryland, here in Maryland, was giving me some training. She does work at the Maryland School for the Blind stuff. Sarah Borley, shout out to her. She was a friend of my mom because my mom has some like medical connections. She comes over to my house to give me some trainings and stuff. First question she asked was, "What blind sports do you play?" And I'm sitting there like, blind sports? Like, well, I used to play soccer. And she was like, "Oh yeah, we'll give it a try." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know this was a thing. I've, never known this." And, still new to the blind world and all that stuff. I didn't even conceptualize that this could be a possible thing. And hearing that news, I was like, "Mom, let's get to the field." It's the same way Alvaro talked about, wrap a plastic bag to the ball, hear it moving. We gave it a shot. I mean, levels better from where I started, but it was
Yeah.
just enough for Coach Laz and Coach Katie at the time, Coach Phil, to say, "Hey, you want to fly out to California and San Diego, give it a chance," and we just kind of went from there.
Wow. Wow. And that's really funny about just the plastic bag and, talk about a simple adaptation. But I'm curious, like, how fast can that ball really roll if it's wrapped up? Or, it's interesting how we kind of pivot when we have to, but then when you really discover like a better, more effective way, an actual blind soccer ball with bells, and it's like opens up a lot of, new doors, right?
Mhm. True that.
Correct.
Yup. So yeah, let's talk about some competitions. So I know the national team has been involved in several tournaments, some friendlies. I know some tournaments. I believe some of the most recent ones. I think there was one. Was it September of 2025 in Mexico? Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I guess we can go back to Alvaro on that one. What was that experience going back to your home country to compete?
Again, it was very special. I never imagined that our first international tournament will be in Mexico, and for me it was an honor because I also was named captain for the tournament. So it was a lot of responsibilities, and just trying to be and perform as a player, but also being a good leader. And right there, I had the opportunity to score the first official goal for the US and also have the opportunity to compete. It was a very difficult tournament. I mean, a lot of good teams or great teams, but it is the way that it is the process that we need to follow in order to learn, and to 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 be ready for 2028. These are the type of tournaments that are giving us the experience.
Exactly. Yeah. And just talk to me a little bit more about that first goal. Who was that against? Who were you guys playing? And what was that experience like? What was that feeling like? Kind of getting off the schneid, getting the US, on the board.
So the first goal it was against Mexico. So we lost 3-1, and I don't know. I imagined like a different type of goal. I didn't want for me to score the first official goal as a penalty kick, but it was a penalty kick. I always like to score like in a good play, but yeah, so it was great because, like I said, it was against Mexico, and even though we lost, but we competed. We really had a good fight against them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then over to Ethan now. What was kind of your memory of that tournament? Just the whole experience there.
Yeah, overall, it was a great experience. My first time ever leaving the country, traveling somewhere new, the first legit month of college, I'm like, all right, already peacing out, but it's a good reason, good cause. So, it was overall one of those experiences where of course, I looked at myself and said, a lot of self growth. But as Alvaro was kind of saying, him being in captain the first time, kind of, commanding the team and, building that brotherhood together, I really felt our bonds with each other were at an all-time high. We played with the most teamwork we ever had, doing plays that we've always thought about, conceptualizing. They were finally implemented. Like, we really took our game to the next level. And of course, if anybody even looked at the schedule and saw some of the teams who were playing, Brazil, Peru, Chile, you can kind of imagine, the results weren't exactly in our best favor. But regardless of score lines and stuff, I really saw a lot of growth as a team and as an organization. And you like Alvaro scoring in that first game, great penalty. And then I had the game winner against Mexico as well, but this was the U21 team, so not as cool as Miss Captain over here, but it was still really nice to get my first international goal because we had already played Romania. I scored the first goal inside the country, and it was cool, traveling across the world and getting another goal. So definitely a boost in confidence and showed a lot of ways the team is built.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very well said. And this was the first international competition as far as the U.S. team traveling outside of the states, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. Anything else you want to mention about that tournament, Alvaro?
No, like Ethan said, I mean, right there we start building a great brotherhood because it is different, I mean, we spend a lot of time together at the hotel, like doing activities, going through recovery and all that stuff. So we really have time to interact with each other.
Yeah. A lot of stories on that we probably shouldn't share here because Alvaro would not approve of all of them, right? Dinosaur. Full time, full therapy was, a great time, but we had some funny moments.
Yep, we could do a TMZ Eyes Free Sports,
Right.
for another podcast, but probably not here. Awesome. So then let's talk about Costa Rica. So I know that was the most recent tournament that you guys competed in down in Costa Rica. I believe that was early December, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yes. First through the eighth, yep.
That first week, yeah. So let's go to Ethan. Start you off here on this one. Just talk to me about that tournament.
This one was filled, kind of a roller coaster ride, filled with a lot of challenges, some things we didn't expect. Um, for example, taking a loss to Panama, who's an even newer team than we are. We were their first win of all time. That was their first game where they've gotten a win. So, there was some challenges like that. But if you really look at the tournament as a whole and see kind of, the way we faced adversity and kind of bounced back, I would say it was another really big time for us to grow. And it showed many more layers of the team. We were playing guys in different positions. We were making switches, subbing more frequent, some guys coming back, like Charles, for example. It felt really like another step in the right direction, even though, some would say we fell short of where we wanted to be. But again, 1% better every day. That consistency I would take any day over, big results right away.
For sure. Yeah. And Alvaro, so I understand you were kind of the star. Would you say the star of this tournament?
And I think everybody, I mean, it's the whole team. It's a lot
Sure.
of mixed feelings, because we had high expectations, and even though we lost against Panama, I think, I mean, that was the result, but during the game, we dominated the game, so that means that we were playing good as a team. Unfortunately, we couldn't put it in the net. But yeah, so that game made the difference, and it was good because against Guatemala, and uh, uh, Ethan scored a goal, so he is also showing that he has those skills to lead the team, to score. I mean, soccer, that is very important, to be able to score. It's what it makes the difference. And yeah, so I was fortunate, and I mean, we have been working, and I was able to score the 3 goals for the third place game. But at the end, I mean, those goals are for the national team. They belong to the national team. It's team effort.
Exactly. Yeah. Generally, I'm curious about scoring a goal and kind of the momentum that brings to the team. If either of you guys want to talk about that.
For me,
Yeah, the momentum. You can go ahead, Alvaro, because you scored quite a bit, Mr. Hat Trick. No, and you got to tell me, that's the first hat trick we've ever had, Give yourself that credit.
thank you. No, yeah. So it was great, but for me, my teammates, my coaches, always told me that I have to celebrate. But I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I think I don't, I don't like to celebrate because for me it's like a responsibility. It's like doing my job, and I don't celebrate until the end. But I think I need to consider, that for my team is very important to celebrate all together. But I need to work on it.
Yeah, it was funny hearing my mom's report. Alvaro might not be trying to celebrate. He doesn't do all the flashy, 20-year-old stuff you do, E, but um, he does kind of celebrate without knowing he is. She was telling me, Alvaro, like that little walk back you do, looking, like a soldier just got his job done, is kind of a celebration in a way. It kind of looks kind of cool. So, yeah, it's funny.
Cool. Yeah. And then Ethan, from your standpoint, scoring a goal, kind of getting some momentum for the team. Would you say in general, just kind of, one goal can kind of lift a team up quite a bit within a game?
Yes, I definitely think, you know, soccer is one of those sports where every position has just as much importance and stuff. But of course, you need those goals. You want to win a game, give results, show, it's moving productive. You got to put them in the back of the net. So it was also an interesting switch because my whole sighted life, I was playing midfield, and then high school, I was all defense, center back, defense, defense. And from, blind soccer perspective, I've really taken a more offensive role. I was switched to center back a few times in Costa Rica, but even with that, I'm that center back who will bring it up the field and try to, take on opponents and whatnot. So I really think I put a lot of emphasis, like Alvaro, like it's a job. If your job is striker, you got to put it in the goal. And the goal I had in Costa Rica against Guatemala over our 1-0 win was right after we took a pretty deep loss to Costa Rica. They racked up a few goals on us and wasn't too competitive. So I think bouncing back that next morning, and I was kind of trying to light the boys on fire, like, come on, we can score, we can do it, we can get these wins. So every time, I get a goal, it really does make me realize, remember honoring the nation, how much of a privilege it is to me, and how much it means to so many people, not just myself, but my team and the people around me. I really do just feel a sense of joy every goal, and hopefully many more to come.
Absolutely. Yep. We're still on the kind of the ground floor here, building and working, right? Grinding.
Yes, sir.
So kind of on that note, just talk to me about like the keys to being an effective blind soccer player. What does it take? Maybe someone listening out there is interested in getting involved in blind soccer and is wondering like, do I have the skills or at least the potential to play blind soccer? And Alvaro, we can go to you on that one first.
That is a very good question because in order to become a good player for blind soccer is like a lot of practice, a lot of training, it's a lot of commitment, because it is it's not easy, you need to develop that relationship with the ball. It's like you need to learn how to control and um dribble the ball with your feet, which is not easy. We are most of the many of the sports, I mean, you use your hands, and in soccer is very important to develop that technique with your feet. And for that reason, you need to put a lot of effort, and also it's like be able to listen to the guides, and execute what they are telling you. Also learn strategy, but also learn like sometimes, I mean, even though your guides are telling you what to do, at some point you need to decide what you want to do, you need to improvise, you need to let your instinct help you to decide what to do in the field, so it is a very complex sport, but it's like I said, the most important thing is that if you want to try it, it is because you will spend a lot of time practicing.
Yeah, no question. And I'm so glad you mentioned the guides and obviously the goalies too. Just, teamwork, communication, a lot of factors involved in the sport.
Yeah, and a lot of contact too, it's kind of a violent sport.
Oh.
Yup, go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, well, that's funny. I was going to mention somewhere about the contact. Yeah, I'm glad, podcast style, we don't have our videos on this time because still got the purple, bridge of my nose. And I came in with full teeth before Costa Rica, and we don't talk about, the front two teeth, but hey, they'll get
Ooh.
fixed soon. But yeah, so speaking to Alvaro's point on that, definitely a contact sport, but I don't want that to deter anybody away from it. And also remember, Alvaro and I, two guys playing at the top level, the national team, there's levels to it, of course, just like any sport. Um, so you remember, contact and all the physicality of it can be at different levels, but really at the base of the game, I kind of come in with a different perspective playing 18 years of sighted soccer. I kind of come in with a mindset that's, a little different. Some people may even go as far to say it's a little unfair because he knows what it's like to see a soccer ball and knows the footwork and knows how to dribble from a sighted life. And I understand, to that perspective, some people might think, I get kind of a head start in ways and it's a little easier for me to visualize and whatnot. But a lot of the basics, like Alvaro was saying, dribbling is one of the main things our game's about. Definitely a team sport. There's great teams like Peru and Brazil, for example. They can pass one another like it's nothing. They're, quick 1-2 touches. Here you go, pass, spinning around tiki taka. But I have noticed that at the end of the day, blind soccer is a little more, each individual needs to kind of reach their max potential in terms of, if you get the ball, you got to be able to dribble no matter what position you are. When I'm center back, they still, carry it up and go take a shot. So dribbling is one of the things that gives you the most freedom with that. So really, I think dribbling is one of the base things. And then, like Alvaro was saying, like teamwork, communication, definitely important. And yeah, and then remember, I'm teaching a 13-year-old kid here in Maryland, train him all the time, and he has some big motivation. He's like, yeah, maybe I'll be on the national team one time. Maybe I'll join you and play for you sometime. But every time I tell him, have fun with it. Treat it like a sport. At the end of the day, you should have fun playing this. And I really want it to keep growing as a sport everywhere. Blind programs to, kids playing it as a fun recreational thing. Like I want it to really be something that isn't only, for the national team, the top guys, you know, guys who have done it for a while. I think kids should be able to play with the ball. Get one of your kids a ball and let them try it out. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. So I really want to keep spreading exposure for the sport, going as much as I can, and hopefully, we keep getting people who aren't afraid to take that chance and say, let's have some fun with this.
Correct. And I
Absolutely.
mean, just as a
Yeah.
note, I mean, I think I enjoy more playing soccer like when it was like just a recreational sport, because it was just like follow the ball and do whatever I want to do, and right now it's like when I was talking about those responsibilities, is perform and execute whatever plan we have in mind, in order to be successful on the tournaments, on the competitions that we're having.
Yeah. So you would say you kind of do feel some pressure, you think, being
Correct.
part of a
Yes.
national adaptive sports team. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah. I appreciate that transparency. So just to put a bow on the Costa Rica tournament, I don't know if I officially mentioned that you guys did earn bronze. I know you wanted, gold or at least silver, but you did get the bronze. And then it's looking ahead to 2026 here. Any tournaments coming up on the horizon, or do you guys know your schedule yet?
As far as we know, we have a very busy 2026. We don't know exactly about tournaments, but we already have dates for camps. So, and it is a busy schedule.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a meeting. What is it, Thursday of this week? Yeah, so in a few days we got a meeting where maybe we'll get some more info and stuff, but it looks like it's going to be, I've been with the team the shortest amount of time, still the rookie, but I've noticed, every year it's picking up, even some of the guys who have been here since day one have said every year more and more coming. So we just got to keep the train going.
And we were been looking for those opportunities, to have more practice time and more competition time. And like Ethan said, every year we're getting more and more. And we just need to have in mind that we're just 2 years away from the Paralympics, and we definitely need that training as a team.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm really curious, just looking ahead to the 2028 Paralympic Games, obviously in Los Angeles. Just kind of thinking ahead, what do you guys kind of look forward to, representing the red, white, and blue on home turf? What does that kind of mean to you, Ethan? We can go to you on that one first.
Of course. First thought is like LA. Okay, LA in summer Paralympics, like it's just got a ring to it, like right off. Just when I say that to people, like, yeah, guys, I have the honor, like I have pride in being able to represent my nation, go to the Paralympics in, a few years, and kind of relate to Alvaro's point, 2 years for a lot of people, that's a lot of time, you can change, make big steps in your life and stuff. But for the sport, blind soccer, that is like a few weeks. Like it flies by, because unfortunately, like some other countries and teams, we don't get to see each other, every single other week or, train quite consistently. So that's again where we got to keep working individually on all our pros. But I'm really excited as that comes up. It's before we know it's going to be here, and for me, I feel like this is the ultimate platform for each and every single one of us to truly, show what it means to be on that stage and hopefully on the podium by the end of the tournament. I really think this is the time where you have the platform to really say what you want to be known, and every move you make on that field is gonna, be remembered. So I think we got to step into it with a lot of confidence, keep getting better before there, but you never know. The underdogs have done crazier things, so we might shock the world.
They have. Yep. And Alvaro, how about you?
I think it's the same as Ethan. It will be an honor to be there representing the nation. And also, I mean, Ethan is one of our youngest players, Probably he will, if he still like have that love for the sport and wants to continue playing, he will do it for many years, He will be leading the team. I'm in the opposite side. I'm already 30 years old, 38 years old, Probably this will be my only opportunity to be there, I never imagined having that opportunity, and right now is just to continue and have the discipline to prepare myself to that special event, for that special event.
Yeah. So in a way, maybe even more pressure on you, Alvaro, just like you said, because of your age, because of your, kind of at this point in the journey for you, maybe a little different perspective on it.
Yes.
Got you. Cool. Okay. And then I'm also curious, just in terms of if people want to learn more about blind soccer, any resources you guys want to mention, or just in general advice, in terms of like getting involved in a blind soccer program or preparing oneself, physically, working out, etc. Anything you want to mention on this? Ethan, we can go to you first.
Yeah, when it comes to, workouts and stuff, of course, it's got a lot of similarities to sided soccer. I realized that real quick, I've been called many times, oh, the skinny kid, chicken legs, all that kind of stuff. And the second they see me on a soccer field, they're like, dude, I mean, hey, it works for you. But, regardless of your build or whatever, just have that confidence that, get the speed and quickness up. Really got to be good cardio to go, only 20-minute halves doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a good bit of running, even on a smaller field and, banging into walls left and right. So definitely cardio is one of the main things I, would tell people to really keep working on. All sorts of trainings can help. And remember, at the end of the day, just have fun with it. And then, Alvaro, correct me if I'm wrong, we still do kind of like the video tryouts. Like people can submit videos to USABA and coaches will take a look at it and stuff, I believe.
As far as I know, yeah, it is they're still doing the same process to identify new talent. And of course, I mean, at this time, the place to go is the USABA website. Is where they are able to establish contact with the coaches and learn more about the sport and all the material that also we as players are making individually. Like what we do in our social media. Um, is like also a resource for people to go and see what blind soccer is about, or even go to YouTube or and do searches for blind soccer. There is a lot of information there.
Yeah, totally. I encourage people to really look into USABA same way I did. And, I tell it to all my friends, like, even if you think, you might not have the same skills as someone, Mr. Hattrick over here or, the young guy on the team, like, give it a try. Send a few videos. And even, if you don't think your team ready yet, you never know. Maybe you just get to train with the team sometime, be a pool player. So I really encourage anybody interested in it. Like Alvaro said, feel free to reach out to us on a personal level. I've got all sorts of social media. If you just look up my name, Ethan Kunes, on Instagram or any of that other stuff, feel free to reach out. I can answer any questions, get some interesting guys and we can talk it up.
Yeah, me too. So mine is my full name, Alvaro, Alvaro Mora, Mora, Arellano, Arellano. That is my Instagram. So, and I'm trying to make some videos to be able to show people, like I said, what blind soccer is about, and I try to make them as simple as for other people to be able to follow them, and learn. And like Ethan says, I mean, soccer is such a friendly sport that it has space for everybody. He's like 6'3", I'm 5'1", and we're still in the same field competing.
True that. Yeah, no, I still got to post Costa Rica, bro. You guys saw you guys were posting on Instagram and stuff. I was like, dang, I'm a straggler. I'm coming in late. I'll get that up. Yeah.
But yeah, such a great point about, all bodies, all sizes. I feel like this is one of those sports that almost anyone, there's like an entry point for almost anyone, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would totally agree. Yeah. Be confident that regardless, of what people said or have said in your past or whatever it may be, always tell yourself, don't worry about others, If a coach on national team tells you can do it, if one of, players, friends, family, anybody tells you, make sure, you keep that confidence that anybody can do it. Friendly sport, and we're looking. Let me tell you, we are looking for as much, fresh blood, new blood we can get on the team as possible. So give it a try.
Absolutely.
I just
Well
want to
said.
mention another organization that it is trying to promote the sport is Blind Soccer Nation. So if the people want to check on that too, there is information about it.
Awesome. Cool. And I'll definitely include that and all the other links in the show notes for everyone as well. I know that Coach Laz did mention even like the MLS and, U.S. soccer kind of partnering with some of these other organizations. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on that, but obviously, making those connections when it comes to any blind sport, with kind of the organizations maybe that have the more funding, more influence is so important, right?
Yeah, definitely true. I didn't know if it was like too open or public yet, but I'm sure it totally is about how LA Galaxy, the professional MLS team, is, putting in a bunch of effort and interest into blind soccer, talking about having guys build the walls for around the field and stuff. So we have a pitch dedication coming up, so we keep the date kind of a mystery, but yeah, that's coming up sometime in 2026. So that'll be an awesome opportunity right there.
Yeah, and we definitely need more people or people organizations teams that start like supporting and get involved with blind soccer. Is it it really we really need that help. More people who want to take the time to start coaching players in their areas. It is the only way that we will be able to develop the sport in the US. And just come as a mainstream.
Any sponsor, any donors interested, talk to USABA. I got a bunch of people who coming up with new ideas for 2026 about benefits and stuff that could come with that. So if you got any interest in the sport, reach out to USABA and see what we can do.
Awesome. Yeah. And then obviously we got the World Cup coming up in North America, here in 2026. So I feel like that could be another opportunity to help promote, soccer in general, but blind soccer as well.
Correct.
I definitely hope so.
And
Alvaro,
also
who's your prediction? Who you got winning?
for
Who you got
the
winning?
World Cup,
Yeah, who you got?
probably Spain.
Ooh, okay. I can agree with
Or
that.
let's see if Morocco can do it again. And
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a good participation and have an African team for the first time winning the World Cup.
That would be awesome. I know. I'm excited to have the World Cup here. Yeah. It definitely could help blind soccer in many ways.
No doubt. Yo.
And one more thing, so also in growing the sport, like also having more like opportunity, more spaces like your podcast, to be able to promote the sport. And yeah, so let the people know that there is blind soccer and that we need more players too. Invite them to get involved
For sure.
and
Yeah.
start
You heard it
kicking
right
around.
here. Yep. Let's start kicking some butt, kicking that ball, kicking some butt.
Right.
Awesome. Well, hey, really appreciate the time. Just want to thank you, Alvaro and Ethan, for joining me here on Eyes Free Sports. Congrats on your recent bronze finish, and I know there's even more of that to come in the future, and really look forward to following the team here.
Much more to come. Yeah, no, appreciate this opportunity. Thanks for having us on. Hope for, more to come in the future.
To hear more episodes of the Eyes Free Sports podcast and to subscribe, search for Eyes Free Sports on your favorite podcast platform or visit eyesfreesports.com. Be sure to follow the Eyes Free Sports podcast at facebook.com/eyesfreesports and on Twitter at eyesfreesports.